The Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast is proudly sponsored by New Vision.
My team, kinda power. I love the power. I love the power.
Hi and welcome to the Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast. This is a weekly show dedicated to all things Port Adelaide Footy Club. I'm your host Macca 19, and joining me as always as co-host is Fishing Rick 04. How are you, buddy?
Very good, Macca. What about yourself?
Good, mate. Always good.
Good work.
And that's it. And for the first time on the podcast tonight, we've got someone that's been around on Big Footy since just about the beginning. He used to be known as Bresh. He was a moderator for a long time as well. We're speaking to Dos Semenas.
Hey guys, thanks for having us on. Love your work.
Cheers, buddy. Absolute pleasure to have you on. Now, as we do with all the first timers on the podcast, we thought we'd find out a little bit about your Port Adelaide supporting background. So, how did you come to support Port Adelaide?
Definitely is a family thing. Entire mum's side of the family grew up around the port, and we have a few connections with the club. I think there was a great uncle who captained the reserve Maggie's teams back in the 50s or something like that. But when I was a 5 or 6 year old, a couple of cousins bailed me up, and this was at a time that my loyalties might have been in question, and they informed me very forcefully that we were a Port Adelaide family, and I'd be a Port Adelaide fan for my life. So that was James and Cameron. They'll probably listen to this, so shout out to them. So really throughout the 90s, some pretty good memories of watching and going to Maggie's games, and it really took off once the AFL team came in, sitting as a whole family, watching the Power Boys.
Fantastic. So do you remember what your first game was?
Attending, no, but the first memory I have of watching a game was the 92 grand final, and specifically I remember that the goal that Brett Chalmers just roosted from, I think it was 80 metres out.
Yep.
Just watching that on TV. That's my first memory of watching Port, and also going to the 96 prelim. Still pretty young at the time, but have some pretty good memories of that.
Absolutely, a couple of good ones there.
Yeah.
And what about your favourite game? I have a feeling I know what this is going to be.
Yeah. Well, kind of El Scorcho, was it, from last week? It's kind of stole my thunder a bit. But round 17, 2001 against Essendon, where we got up over the reigning premiers. I did a bit of looking into that game in preparation for tonight, and the game was drenched in history. They came off that 69-point comeback against Kangaroos the week before. Essendon, that was. Yep. So it was just a massive win for us. And also, it was Bowen Lockwood's 50th and final game. So, it was really, really a spectacular game to watch, where we really announced ourselves to the competition. And, I've watched that one many, many times over the years. The only thing that's probably held a candle to it, other than the finals victories, was last year's showdown, which was just, I can't remember euphoria like that. When Chad marked the ball and he just knew he was going to kick it. So, probably those two would be my two favourite memories from AFL.
Yep, fantastic. And what about your favourite player, either past or present?
Probably Treaders. I think it's probably hard to kind of be a Port fan throughout the late 90s and early 2000s without, really just loving the War Machine tremendous, as he just, owned the competition for half a dozen years there. So that's the obvious one, but a couple of other favourites, Brent Guerrero, when he was still at the club, and Brett Montgomery, actually, as well.
Yep, good stuff. Well, we'll jump straight into it and go with our love and hate. We've decided to do a bit of a joint love and hate this week. What we've chosen for our love is our memberships. It continues to grow at a meteoric rate. It's currently at 45,519 people. What do we think of that? I think it's pretty spectacular, and by the looks of it, we could easily be at 47,000 by the showdown.
Pretty bloody good, isn't it? And not only that, I think the showdown's also been announced that it's sold out as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be I mean, the one thing that I think about when I look at that number is just how great the home games at Adelaide Oval are going to be. We're there. Games are just around the corner at Adelaide Oval, and it's just going to be an amazing experience. So there's going to be a huge amount of Port fans there. I can't wait to hear that noise when we come out in the showdown.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, and it makes me think of last year at the end of the season when we, when we got that massive crowd for the Carlton game, and it was just amazing after the couple of bleak years, where we had such a large attendance, just sort of on, to come out and almost say goodbye to Port at Footy Park, and to think that we're going to, we've trumped our membership numbers quite significantly already, which was sort of forecasted and is coming true, which is fantastic. And to see that we're going to have a massive crowd, and it looks like we might have massive crowds for the whole year, it's going to be an exciting and vibrant style of game to go and watch, I believe.
Well, it would be fantastic to get back to that level where we were at sort of the start of the century, where we were, on a bad day we were getting sort of 25 or 26,000 people. On a good day we were getting sort of 30 to 35, as opposed to sort of hitting 24,000 and thinking, oh, well, gee, that's not too bad. At least I think as it's going at the moment, I mean, we should be hoping for some pretty regular sort of 40,000 crowds, I would hope.
I think it's going to be a bit of a culture shock for some people. In previous years, you've been able to spread out, put your feet down on the seat in front of you, put your thermos on the seat next to you, and things like this.
You pretty much have a row to yourself half the time.
I used to like that, though. I used to like being able to kick my feet over the seats in front of me. I'm going to be a bit disappointed by that.
Leg room's going to be at a premium.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, I was only thinking about it today. When in our heyday in the 90s, when we were really pushing to get into the AFL, we had a 45% share of the market. I mean, I'm going off of memory here, but I'm pretty sure that's what our following was because we were so dominant. So the supporters are there. It's about reactivating them, and we had Dumb and Dumber on the radio today, and the dumbest of all was saying that Port would never overtake our rivals in size and scale, but I still hold belief that we did have a very significant market share, and if we market ourselves right and play a good brand of football over the long journey, I can't see, and I'm sure our power brokers would be looking with that long-term view to be standalone and even and competitive with our local rival and also on a national level, and I think we're starting to make some big strides.
Yeah, you can definitely see a bit of fear coming from the likes of Dumb and Dumber, as you mentioned, and some fans around the place that might be hearing some footsteps of Port Adelaide, the giant awakening.
Right, and hate for this week. It's a very, very sad one. Obviously, it's the passing of Dean Bailey. For those that weren't supporters at the time, he had a lot to do with Port Adelaide through our era of success through the 2000s. He came to our club in 2002 to become our defensive coach. You can immediately see the effect that he had on the team. Guys like Montgomery, Polton, even looking at guys like Sean Burgoyne and Chad Corns, he had a huge amount of impact on their careers. And I think he had a lot to do with getting Chad Corns and Sean Burgoyne back into the defensive group for 2004, which obviously became such a key to our premiership. He also moved to the midfield to become midfield coach in 2007. And again, you saw guys like the Corns brothers, the Burgoyne brothers, Pearce, Salopek. They all had arguably their best seasons of AFL footy in 2007 under Bailey in that midfield. Such a sad thing to happen, and such a sudden thing to happen as well. It was only sort of 3.5 months ago where he got diagnosed with this. What do we feel about that?
Yeah, I'm very sad. And it's not just from Port Adelaide's perspective. You look at Adelaide, you listen to Essendon. I didn't even realise that he had an influence at Cornell. Did he play at Cornell for a few years? Did he?
He played. He went there in 1993, and he played under Choco. So that's where they started up their relationship.
Yeah, but I mean, the overall feedback from all those clubs has been that he was able to bring a bit of lightness when it seemed to be a spare, and I think that shows a great character to be able to lighten up a little bit and not always be so serious. And I've lost a few friends at that age, and and it's way too young, and it's actually very sad for the family and all those footy clubs and everyone that he's influenced. And hopefully all of the people that remember him well and reflect on what he's done and his influence, and can tribute to him accordingly.
Them throughout the AFL really have kind of spoken for themselves, I think. Across the clubs he's worked at and elsewhere, there's a lot of guys have talked about Bailey's influence on their careers. And he's actually, he had a pretty decent resume when you look at it. He was assistant coach at Essendon when they won the flag, assistant coach when we won the flag, and obviously had a pretty big role in Adelaide's surge in 2012.
Yep.
Definitely like seeing the tweets and the article by Treaders today, which was great. He clearly had a pretty big impact on the clubs that he was at. So it's very sad.
Yeah. I remember way back in 2001 when he was at Essendon, and it was announced that Port had stolen him from the Bombers. There was a poster on Big Footy called Walshy, who was an Essendon fan. I think he actually worked at the club at the time in sort of a statistics role. And he said to me in a PM, just completely out of the blue, you've stolen away probably our best football person, at the Essendon Footy Club. I always remember that, and he certainly lived up to it at Port Adelaide. And as you said, also in Adelaide, he became Sando's right-hand man in 2012, and you can see how far they dropped last year without his influence there. It was kind of a shame that he didn't really make a better go of it at Melbourne. I don't think that was all his fault. Certainly a lot of the tanking issues that they had there wasn't down to him. It's pretty clear that the players really enjoyed his leadership and his coaching. But unfortunately, they just couldn't get it done at the Demons. I'm pretty sure we all hoped that Dean would come back to Port Adelaide at some point as well. Yeah,
I was hoping he was going to come back to us when he went to our crosstown rivals, and I was bitterly disappointed, and still am disappointed and on many levels now. But I guess that's life, and we'll all move on, and everyone will reflect, and hopefully we'll add a bit of I was going to say spice to the showdown, but probably spice isn't the right word. But a bit of extra passion if we need any.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if the clubs choose to do any sort of joint thing for him, similar to what we did with McCarthy and Collingwood. I think it would be a good reflection if both Port Adelaide and Adelaide did that together. I think.
Yeah, I think that would be a fairly appropriate thing to do. Obviously, life being more important than football, and he's had such a massive impact at both clubs that I think they can probably put that rivalry aside for a moment and pay tribute to the man.
Alright, well let's get on and talk about our main topic this evening, and obviously that's round one. Footy's back, you bloody beauty. We're playing Carlton in round one. We're playing on Sunday evening at 7:10pm at Etihad Stadium. The history between the two clubs, Port leads the win-loss record, 13 wins, 11 losses and a draw. Unfortunately, Carlton's had the wood on Port Adelaide over the last few years. They've won 7 of the last 8. And the last time we met was obviously the last round of 2013, where we lost by a point after leading by 39 points during the third quarter in the last ever game at Footy Park, where we were wearing the prison bars. Alright guys, let's jump straight into it.
You're mentioning the infamous game where Broadbent intentionally hit the post, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a very exciting team. I mean, outside of Alapati, their defence is looking very, very solid, and I'm hoping Jackson's knee is going to be all right and will stand up because he's Macca, you probably know more than me with this, but he's had a pretty light pre-season in that regard.
Yeah, I don't think he's played a game in the pre-season from memory. So yeah, hopefully he does stand up and can play a full game.
Yeah, I agree, but I mean, look, I think that's pretty close to what we could field as a strong side. I just wonder, I mean, and I don't want to take any thunder here away from you guys because you mentioned it earlier and I'll let you talk about it, but I wonder if maybe we've carried an extra toll in this squad because I wonder if Jay might potentially drop out at the last minute.
Who do you think would come in off the extended bench if Trengo dropped out?
No, not Trengo, Jay Shields.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, that would mean we'd play John Butcher full forward, Justin Westhoff floating centre half forward. Yeah, we've got that extra toll with defence. Tom Cleary could probably be that swing man. We've lifted Brent Renouf off the rookie list, so potentially he could come in as that extra toll as well and give some support to Lobie. I like my conspiracy theories.
Well, I really hope we win the game. I mean, what's not to hate about Carlton? With all respect to the Wookiee, who is a bit of a favourite on the board, the media just overrate Carlton so much. I think they always get a prime TV fixture. They're full of the swag of top draft picks. Their fans, when they come to Adelaide, don't make a sound until halfway through the last quarter. They tried to force Brett Ratton on us, but other than that, they're a nice bunch of guys. So I mean, I was hoping actually that they'd go a bit more conventional up forward. I was expecting maybe Henderson to play it forward because the smaller guys have really cut us up in the past. I feel, and with those Joe the Goose type goals. And I was hoping that, with them going a bit more conventional up forward, perhaps that would actually work in our favour.
Mm. Well, how do you think Dale Thomas is going to go? I don't remember him being overly influential against us with Collingwood in games. Do you think we've got the ability to be able to lock him down? And should we be more concerned about maybe the Chris Yarran and the Jeff Garlett run where the speed really exposed us last year?
I think with Judd out, Thomas becomes even more important for them, to be honest, especially with that sort of outside run and carry. They'll be looking for him a lot.
And it was also Matthew Cruiser back at last season at Etihad. He kicked a few goals against us as well, didn't he?
He has a few times, yeah. He probably plays his best footy against Port Adelaide, to be honest.
Yeah, you'd hope that we really lock down on those guys that just card us up every time we play them. You just get sick of seeing Murphy and Cruiser, Garlett and Yarran just absolutely own us every time they play us. You definitely hope we send a hard tag to Murphy and can hopefully lock down on those forwards. It'd be nice, if we, fingers crossed we don't lose, but if we do, it happens some different ways that every other game we've seen against Carlton over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Well, we've just spoken briefly about Murphy there. I just want to touch on him. He's probably the key player of the game. Since 2008, he's played against Port Adelaide 7 times. He's averaged 27 disposals. He's kicked 10 goals. He's picked up Brownlow votes in 6 of those 7 games, including best on ground on 4 occasions. So he's someone that absolutely tears us a new one every time we play them, just about. So he's the one that we really need to try and stop. And I guess the question becomes, who do we play on him? Do we play a hard tag on him? Or do we play someone to try and play off him a little bit? I'm thinking maybe Matt White, because he's got the pace to go with him, and he can also probably hurt him the other way a little bit as well.
I'd go the hard tag myself, and I think that would have been a good opportunity for Andrew Moore, which I guess we'll talk about in a sec because he's not in the side, because I think maybe Dom's legs might not be with him if he gets selected in the final squad to keep up with Murphy, but I thought it would have been a great opportunity for Andrew Moore, but I guess that means we'd probably run Kane Corns if I get my wish and we go for a hard lockdown role on him.
The 2 guys who I first thought would get the job, this led into the game, Kane Corns and Andrew Moore, seem to be the guys who get carved up by Murphy every time we play them, so maybe it is worth giving Matthew White a a go. Do we want him at centre bounces though, Matthew White?
I would probably look at starting him on a wing, and then sort of move him onto Murphy around the ground, sort of after the centre bounce. That's what I'd probably be doing. So I think, they've said we wanted White to come in and sort of mark these sort of quicker players. Well, this would be a fantastic baptism of fire for him.
What do you guys read into Chad Wingard starting as a ruck rover?
Well, I think with Wingard, him and Ollie Wines and Westhoff, I think, really hold the key to our season. And I think we might see Wingard a bit more on the ball this year. He's someone who can flick the switch and just really win a game off his own boot. Unfortunately, that takes him away from the forward line. But I'm keen to see what he has to offer. There's spending more time in the midfield.
Yep. So who does Trengove go to? Cruiser or Waite?
I'd probably start him on Cruiser. Sorry, Rick.
Yeah. No, you're right. I was about to say the same thing. I'd probably send him on Cruiser and have Homsch on Waite, who's probably a little bit more mobile.
Yep.
Yeah, it might be if Trengo still has any fitness concerns over him at all. He probably would he do less running on Cruiser? So maybe that's the go.
Yep. I guess the other query is Jeff Garlett. As you mentioned before, he's someone that's torn us apart a couple of times. Likes to kick a goal against Port Adelaide, especially, as you said, the Joe the Goose sort of goals. Who goes to him? I'm thinking probably Pittard I'd like to see go to him.
Well, yeah, we don't really seem to have the genuine small defender in the lineup, really. The guys who have the foot speed to go, really a Pittard, maybe an O'Shea or an Impey if they're in the team, as you'd expect. I just hope whoever gets put on them can do the job. I don't think we have a great matchup for him, to be honest. I think we might need someone to maybe exploit them using their strength. So, if it's Pittard, exposing him, rebounding defensively.
So this is where I'd like maybe to try the Matthew White experiment. That's where I was hoping, that's where we'd use him to try and shut down one of those running half-back, half-forwards that have got blistering pace. And so maybe play the Garlett and White sort of match-up, Yaron and Jarman Impey if he's played, because he's got good pace too. And his last game, he apparently played very well as a bit of a shutdown defender, and really try and stop their run with those two. And then go back to the Kane Corns on Mark Murphy. I don't think when we lost and Mark Murphy was influential at Etihad that we had a real lockdown tagger on him for the whole game that game. And I think, as we said earlier, that's the key. And that's probably how I'd structure up with the three players.
Yeah, I think if White doesn't go to Murphy, then he's definitely going to go on one of either Yaron or Garlett, to be honest. So I think probably Yaron.
And his turn of pace might actually be an opportunity for him to work off of those boys a little bit better. I don't know if there is their attention span or dedication would be there as the equivalent of a Mark Murphy, so to speak. So there might be a bit of a burn-off factor there too.
Yep. So who do we see our interchange being? Obviously, we've named a 7-man interchange squad at the moment. We've got Kasisi, Cahoon, Impey, O'Shea, Renouf, White and Wines. Personally, I'm thinking it's going to be Impey, O'Shea, White and Wines. That would be my pick for the 4 bench players.
Yeah, they're the first 4 guys named, and I would expect those to be the 4 most likely. Maybe a Kasisi over Impey if we feel that there's a particular role for Kasisi, but I think Wines, White, O'Shea, Impey really offer us quite a bit. There's some ball winning there. There's a bit of pace, great skills. So I think that would be my 4 too.
Yeah, well, I reckon I'd be a little bit different here. I think Sammy Calhoun may come in. I think Impey will get his shot, and obviously Ollie Wines and Matt White will be the other 2. And I think O'Shea might be, because his pre-season was okay, but not fantastic. So I think Dom, O'Shea and Renouf might be the guys to drop out unless, obviously, Schultz, his foot's not up to scratch, and then Renouf might come in for him. Yeah,
I'd be pretty shocked if O'Shea missed out, to be honest.
Yeah, well, so would I. but I think there could be a little bit of a change from the round one team. That's for sure.
I think Cleary being named on the ground has sort of thrown a few people off because I think people sort of figured he'd be either just in or just out, but being named on the side, he's pretty much guaranteed a spot now.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, I mean, O'Shea, I thought had a tremendous season last year and was really starting to cement himself in the team and really making his name known throughout the competition, really. So I know we don't want to give gold passes out, but I think O'Shea would almost be deserving of one based on his tremendous season last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but new season, new beginning. Everyone has to start
Yeah,
the same. And I guess if I weighed up Tom Cleary and Cam O'Shea, I'd probably go as far as say Tom Cleary might have been a little bit better than Cam. And if that's the case, well then he has to get the nod. And I mean, Macca, you'd be able to attest to this. He had a pretty good game against Nick Riewoldt last week, didn't he?
Oh, he did. He's had a fantastic pre-season and he's absolutely deserving of a spot in the side. He's only had 3 goals kicked on him all pre-season, including just the one last week. So, as I said, he's definitely deserving of a spot. But yeah, I guess it's just interesting to see that O'Shea maybe out, but I'm still expecting him to be on the bench.
Yeah, well, if he's out, I don't think he'll be out for too long. That's for sure.
That's it.
I guess he gives us another defensive option if someone's getting cut up by Garlett. O'Shea, I think, could be an option in that matchup.
And what about the Matt Lobe, Robbie Warnock battle? I asked on the forum earlier today, how's Warnock's pre-season been going? Is that going to be a bit of a break even because Lobe hasn't been setting the world on fire either this pre-season?
It'll be a battle for the ages, Rick.
Is that sarcasm?
No, maybe. Well, look, Lobe hasn't been that fantastic this pre-season. He's probably... I mean, he hasn't really done a whole lot of ruck work, especially in the last 2 games. So it will be interesting to see if we do bring Renouf in. Obviously, they've got 2 pretty good ruckmen in Warnock and Cruiser. But if they take Cruiser away from the forward line, they don't really have many other options unless they do play Andrew McInnes. And Warnock's really not all that great around the ground either.
I wonder if we're just looking after Lobe, given the massive workload that he's probably going to have throughout the season. As you say, if he hasn't been doing much ruck work, I mean, he's going to be doing 90% of it, you'd think, in the game. And that's when I think he plays his best footy, when he's the number 1 ruckman and the only ruckman, perhaps.
Oh, definitely, he does his best work when he's sole ruckman. I think we saw that late last year. And Renouf's probably the exact opposite, where he needs to be the sole ruckman as well. And when he's sort of the backup, he's not. He doesn't really impact all that much.
His around the ground work just gives me nightmares.
I think the second half of the season from 2013, Matthew Lobe would be far more dominant than Robbie Warnock. So I'd be hoping that they haven't been resting him during the pre-season. He should be pretty fresh, and I would have been hoping that he would be pumping out the performances, looking in peak condition, but he had a slow start last year, which was a bit questionable and as the season went on, he got a lot better. So I don't know, but yeah, look, we really need him to stand up, and if Renouf plays, make sure he taps it to the right team. I think this week that'll be pretty important.
Yeah, definitely. I think Warnock's a very good tap ruckman. I mean, obviously he's got the height. He's got a height advantage over Lobe, but he's a bit of a dead weight around the ground generally. So yeah, I'd probably be still looking at playing Lobe by himself and hoping he can run him into the ground a little bit.
And with Jackson coming back from that bruised knee, surely we wouldn't be pinch hitting him in the ruck, would we?
I would think probably Westhoff might do that.
Yeah, definitely. I think Tringo's an asset, and if he's got some leg concerns, throw Westhoff in there, he'll be all right.
Especially with Butcher in the team now, we can afford to do that with Westhoff. We can throw him in the ruck or in the midfield for 5 minutes and give Lobe a break and not take anything away from the forward line.
Yeah, I think he's primed for a huge season, Westhoff, with Butcher in there. Really just frees him up. He doesn't have to be the second tall, and he can just freewheel around the ground. So I think there might be some value there, in the Brownlow.
That's it.
Do they have a natural match-up for Westhoff in this game, or could he be really influential? I mean, the only one I could maybe Lockie Henderson run with him.
About Everett, he's got just size and mobility. I don't think he'd do that well on Westhoff, but body shape wise and pace wise, he's probably a close match.
Yep.
No, he could be on the money there, because I was looking at it thinking that he might be maybe a smoky to just go with a run with Rolls, similar physiques. But yeah, I just can't see. I mean, that's the beauty of Westhoff, if he can follow up from last season's form anyway, that it's almost impossible to match up on him, isn't it?
That's it, definitely. So where do we win this game? Looking at the sides on paper, I think we've got a much better midfield as it looks on paper at the moment. Obviously, Carlton's got a couple of players out from theirs. I think the midfield's going to be the key battle, as it is most weeks, but I think more importantly this week it's going to be. I think if guys like Ebert and Robbie Gray and Travis Boak have big games, it's hard to see Carlton winning.
Absolutely, and I think it's a massive bonus that not only Judd, but Carrazzo is not in the team, because he always seems to do well against us, and Heath Scotland's the other one. He always seems to do well against us as well. Yeah. So the stars have aligned for us there. There's really no excuse, and I'm with you, Macca. I mean, both teams, if I was a neutral supporter that didn't really follow either of these teams too well, I'd probably be looking at them going, oh, there's a few good names and a few no names that are, just serviceable players there. But I'd be hoping if all our midfielders, like you said, stand up to their form, I think we should just have enough class to get over the top. And I think we've got a team that actually probably will light the fast track of Etihad Stadium as well, with Pittard in the side and Jared Polick, where that gives us a nice bit, and White, that gives us an MP, if he plays, a nice bit of speed to run and break those lines. And that's what I'd be hoping for. We need to get that line-breaking run from the half-back line, cut it in about 80 metres out into the centre at a minimum, and then give us a direct route to goal. And that's how we tried to play last year. And if our halfback flankers and midfielders can link up and get that play going, I think that's going to be the way we're going to be feeding the forwards and kicking the winning score.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think we've been working on a game style in the pre-season that will hopefully work at Etihad. It hasn't really been a happy hunting ground for the last few years, but with those additions of White and Impey and Polak in the team, we've probably got the pace to link up and the execution to hopefully play the ground a bit better. Yeah, and I think just going back to the outs that Carlton have got, it puts a lot of pressure on Murphy and McLean. Looking at who else? I got Dale Thomas to do a lot of the work, whereas we've probably got 10 guys that we can run through the midfield. So yeah, I think you're spot on there, Macca, with that might be the spot that we win the game.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling this is going to turn out similar to that Essendon game in pre-season, where maybe we get jumped at the start, but we run over the top of them in the end. So let's see how that prediction pans out.
Well, that's something to talk about. Pretty much every game of the pre-season so far, we've had very, very poor starts. It's something that really sort of plagued the first half of our year last year as well. What are the steps that we need to take to try and ensure that doesn't happen this year, and more importantly in round one?
We need Lobie to get his hands on the ball to start with early, and we need our inside mids to get possession and use it well. That's the key. I mean, and that will give us a bit of composure, and we'll steady from there. But we definitely need to control it from the contest early on and just not let them dominate straight away.
Okay, so what we'll do each week for these preview podcasts, we're going to list a couple of different topics, and we'll list one player each who we think are going to impact on the game. The first question is, who's going to stand up? Whose time is it to stand up for Port Adelaide? For me, I'm going to pick Jasper Pittard.
Not happy, Macca.
I know you're a fan, but I think this is the time for him to shine. It's not particularly I expect him to play well, and he hasn't played well. I think this is a game where he could really start his season off with a bang if he does get a good job on Yaron or Garlett and shuts them out of the game. that'll give his season such a fantastic kickstart.
You know, I'm only allowed to talk about Jasper. I'm with you. I agree. I was going to say Jasper, but outside of Jasper, I'd say I'm looking forward to Jared Pollock. I think this is his time. Fourth year in the system. Great pre-season. Fantastic conditions for him to excel in the enclosed environment with his great skill and disposal. And along with him, if Jasper and Jared can really stand up and deliver, I think we're going to go a long way. I'm really looking forward to watching Pollock play this Sunday.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. And I think before I get to my name, like if the Jasper Pittard that showed up in the finals last year is the one we get on the weekend, I think that will go a long way to winning the game.
Yep.
But the player I'm going to go with, and I mean it's been said many times before, is John Butcher. I think he just offers so much structurally if he can cement himself in the team. We've seen what he can do, and we've also seen the struggles that he's had with his goal kicking. But if he can actually stick in the team and present, bring the ball to ground, jag a goal here and there, it offers us so much and takes a bit of the reliance off Schultz and Westhoff to do all the heavy lifting. So yeah, Butcher to step up in 2014.
All right, who's going to be the biggest influencer on the match? For me, I'm going to say Matty Lobe. If Matty Lobe has a big game, I can see Port Adelaide winning comfortably.
Yeah, it's a good call. I'm going to go with Justin Westhoff. Again, I just don't think they've got a natural match up for him. And I think he's going to start off this season like he did last season, and wouldn't surprise me in the least if he kicked maybe 5 or 6 goals and got around 20 possessions.
Yeah, I mean, when Westhoff plays well, we just don't lose. I'm going to go with Ollie Wines. I think, he's a second-year player, so it might be a bit unfair to say this, but I think he's going to start bossing teams physically in the midfield this year onwards. I think that he's going to have a big influence on the game and really start to physically assert himself, more than last year. I think he's going to start standing himself on games and turn himself into a real match winner.
Yeah, good call, that one. That's a good call. And who is our major worry for the opposition? I'll start off and say Mark Murphy is pretty clearly the biggest worry. He's killed us before. If we shut him out of the game, then I can't see Carlton winning.
Yep, fair call. I'm going to go. I knew you were going to say Murphy, so I'm going to go Dale Thomas. And the reason I'm going to say Dale Thomas is because if we can shut down Thomas, he's going to provide them with link-up run. So you could really insert name Chris Yarran, insert name Jeff Garlett. But if we can shut down him, and which will really shut down their run, I think that's going to go a long way to us winning the game.
Yeah, all of those, and yeah, as I said earlier, please can we pay some attention to Mark Murphy this time round? I think just to throw another name in there, Cruiser. I think he, as has been said, he did some damage up forward against us last year, and might be able to do some ruck work as well. So he's got a bit of talent, obviously as a former number 1 pick. So on top of those others, I'd hate to see Cruiser get away from us.
Yep. All right, time to put our reputations on the line. Who's going to win the game?
Port, mate. And I reckon we're going to win by 33 points.
Wow. Nice one. Dos Semenas?
Yeah, I'm going to take Port. Not confidently. I really think this is a 50-50 game, but look, let's go by 11 points. Okay, we'll get out to a 2-goal lead just at the end there, and Jeff Garlett's going to hit the post deliberately to 11 points.
Nice call. I'm going to start off the year on a positive note. I'm going to say we're going to be behind at quarter time. We're going to work our way back into the game, and we will win by 17 points with Jared Pollock best on ground.
If we're behind at quarter time, you're gonna listen to me for 10 minutes, spew my guts up on the review podcast. I can tell you that right now. I won't be happy.
No, that's fair enough. I won't be happy either. But if we win the game, I'll be I'll be a bit more happy at the
Satisfied.
end result, I think. Yep.
Yeah.
If Jared Pollock is best on ground, I think we'll all be very happy. If he gets away from Carlton, we could win big.
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues.
So what about the rest of the tips, Macca? We were talking earlier, and me and you were going to have a bit of a competition, and we'll get all three of our tips, I reckon. But let's see. We'll put our necks on the line and see who's got the goods in relation to tipping.
All right, Collingwood and Freo to start the season. I'm going to pick Collingwood. I'm not sure why, but I just think they'll win.
Right. I'm Freo.
Am I doing this as well?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Get in.
Get in.
Yeah, I'm going Freo. That Collingwood lineup looks horrendous. Like, Lumumba has been named as the rover. What's going on there? Yeah, Freo all the way.
I just think Collingwood are going to stink this year. I don't care what all the Victorian journos say. I think they're going to slide.
Fair enough. GWS in Sydney. I'm going to pick Sydney. I think that one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I'm with you there, mate.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go to Sydney, but it might be the year where GWS start getting closer. Yeah, we'll give them that. Getting closer, losing by not as much.
I think they'll have a pretty decent year, GWS, but I can't wait to see Buddy and see what he can do.
Absolutely.
Next game, Gold Coast and Richmond. That's going to be a pretty good game. That's probably up there with Carlton and Port for the game of the round. I'm going to say Gold Coast.
Man, I was going to say Gold Coast too, and I still will.
Yeah, I'm undecided about that one. I'm going to take Richmond just to be different, but yeah, I'm not liking the look of Gold Coast team. Really, they're not really coming along as I would have expected at this stage.
Yep. All right, and of course we all picked Port Adelaide, so that one's pretty straightforward. We'll do the rest of the tips next week when we know the other teams. Dos Semenas, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's been good fun.
Yeah.
An absolute pleasure, and no doubt we'll get you on again throughout the year.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having me, and hopefully we get a win on Sunday, and looking forward to listening to the review podcast.
That's it. Rick, as always, buddy.
Pleasure.
Any fishing tips?
Yeah. Get out there and enjoy it if you can, because I certainly can't. It would be nice, beautiful weather. Easter's coming. I guess my only tip is if you do like fishing, April, in my opinion, is the time to do it. I reckon Adelaide and South Australia in April is just fantastic. Calm weather, calm winds, beautiful temperatures, mid-20s. You can't go wrong. So we've got the Easter backing up with Anzac Day this year. So get out in April and give fishing a go if you don't really try it.
I'm inspired. I'm going to get out there, Rick.
That's it.
Do it, mate. Do it.
Do it.
Do it for me, because I'll probably be working.
All right, guys. Go the Power.
Go to
Go Power.
Well, they've got 3 in about 5 minutes here. Well done. Could you do it again? It's going and going and